They're getting shot up in the dealership. Like, what's going on?
I mean, it's pretty gnarly. So there's been like just a lot of incidents nationwide of people like aggressively like vandalizing Teslas,
Swastikas,
spray painting swastikas on them. The Cybertruck, as you might know, has like that Sentry Cam mode. So there's like actually like a lot of video of people like doing it because it has that. So it's
I think they all the models have that.
Do they all have that?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, interesting. So there's a lot of video of it. And it's everything from people in like kind of protests. In the protest, there's the Tesla there, so they like light it on fire or something. Versus like some people who just were like driving in New York City, and then like, somebody goes up to the car and like bashes the window in. Somebody literally shot up a dealership.
Wait, so you're just like minding your own business, and people will just come up to you and fuck with your Tesla, I guess.
Yeah,
Baseman is bad.
yeah. Somebody had like lit a charging station on fire outside of Boston, I think.
What the fuck?
So
Nick, do we have audio?
I don't know. Do we?
What do you mean? Oh, like you want to play a video?
Yeah, I just want to provide my explanation.
Okay, well, let's
I just want to provide my explanation of what I think is going on.
When it comes to getting to market in a world, these helps us move like quickly in an alley or not any social media managers and other agendas or marketing moves really.
Because democracy basically means government by the people, of the people, for the people. But the people are retarded.
Thank you. That's all I have to say about this topic.
So
I think there's more to say about it than that, though. Right? Don't you think there's like it's like a legitimate? There's obviously like a legitimate like anger there for people, right?
Of course, yeah. I'm just kidding.
I don't know. Are you?
Yeah, I think people are irrational and crazy, and this is just another indicator of how polarized things continue to be.
It's tough because like you can't really separate like a genuine grievance versus like some opportunistic political, action, right? Like I don't know if they're doing this because like they don't really like Trump and Trump's associated with Elon. Elon supports Trump, or do they have like a real grievance? Like you see protests and vandalisms when there's like, this is our grievance, we want this fixed, but then
I can understand the grievance. What I'm wondering is like, is the politicization accelerating? I guess like when I'm looking back, Elon and Tesla was like a lefty favorite for its environmentally friendly narrative or whatever.
Well, and Elon himself was.
And Elon himself.
the irony is,
So I'm wondering, has it accelerated this politicization, or is it just the same thing, the other side of the coin?
I mean, shouldn't he be like the golden child of the left, right? Like he single-handedly made EVs cool, pushed the world towards sustainable energy, kind of trying to disrupt like oil companies and fossil fuel burning.
Well, I think one of the big things that moved him was getting shunned by the previous government. I think if Biden had been like, Elon, you're the fucking man, like, and just really,
It didn't invite him to the EV summit.
I think this is like, remember when
Kind
Trump,
of like some weird like
Trump got made fun of
by open at the dinner.
and was like, fuck you, I'll be president? This is the same thing. This is like, I'm going to take over the world and support the other team because of all the companies, I'm the greenest. My literal company mission is renewable energy in many ways across many different aspects of what we do. And I'm not even going to get invited to this summit. Like,
Can we go back to that moment? Like, why was Tesla and Elon not invited to the EV summit when I remember at the time they had sold more EVs than all the other invitees combined?
Because they didn't use union labor,
Okay.
which is dumb. Because Tesla like is probably the one company that like helped the climate change cause more than anything. Like actually, like in the outcome of having that business grow was there was less, fossil
Politics,
fuel
man.
burning, and it makes it the whole thing like very disingenuous feeling because you're like, well, was the outcome really the point in the first place, or were there these like ulterior motives of why you said this was so important, we must change, we must do these things, and yeah, he's just doing them voluntarily, like to build a company and make money, and yeah, you don't care because he doesn't fit in your box. You can't control him.
But I mean, to your question is like, so what's happening? Yeah, I think like, well, first of all, I don't think the actions of a few should ever be like conflated with like the general feeling of a group of people. I think the general feeling and the sentiment is that, yeah, they don't like Elon because he's associated with Trump, because he's firing federal workers, because they don't understand the nuance of the things he's talking about, is I think a huge part of it, because they have a certain, you know, there's a group think and it doesn't match with that team's thinking. And that's very hard to reconcile. And, you know, you can parse that out into way more detail as well. But like to go and do these types of things just makes no sense. I don't, the reason I think it's just like the people are retarded and there's nothing else to say is because to a certain degree, it's like, what we're supposed to like, this is like asking if it's okay to go shoot the CEO of a healthcare company. Like, really? This is what we're going to talk about? Is it okay and justified? Like, what is this activist movement of like lighting cars on fire and vandalizing cars? Like, we're going to ask if it's justified to do that for some kind of cause. What other cause?
Okay, so how about let's step back from the insane action,
Right.
but like I went to dinner with my friend's parents who are just run of the mill rich lefties, and the wife, before she knew that I drove a Tesla, she's like, "Thank God I didn't buy a Tesla because Elon is fucking terrible." And she was like, just expressing, I think, a sentiment that's pretty widely held amongst that. And it's like, she's not an arsonist, but she's not going to buy a Tesla.
We have one of our friends' wives wants to sell their Tesla because of Elon.
This is the way. Oh, really? This is the way most people show it. Is like, well, I just won't support the products and services of that person. I'll delete my X account if I ever had one. All that kind of stuff.
I mean, how much of this do you put on Elon? Not because of what he's doing or his views, or his political perspectives, but just because, hey, you're owner of you're CEO of a publicly traded company, and you kind of took this risk to be publicly political. Obviously, it would put your brand at risk. I mean, there's so much history of like brands once they're political, it's not like you can drag them back to being neutral. I mean, like the OG like vandalism was like, you know, Boston Tea Party. It was at the British East India Company or something like that. And the OG vandalism, because it like people were like, oh, you're not a tea company. You represent the British government and their policies. So we're going to destroy you. And so, I don't know, there's just like, you start from there and go all the way forward. There's like a track record. Should he have like evaluated the risk to his company? I mean, I don't think so, but I'm curious.
I think he did. I think he definitely did. I don't think he cares. I think of all the people I've seen, like one of the things that makes him a great entrepreneur, this goes beyond even being an entrepreneur. It's like a great creator of our time is his ability to play the long game. Like he's playing on a multi-decade time horizon with everything he does. And so I think to him, all of these things are just like a blip in his overall legacy. And legacy is not even the right word, because I don't think he's driven by a personal legacy. I think he's driven by like, I just must do enormous, big, fucking difficult things, or else life is not worth living and not exciting enough. And if I don't wake up and don't feel excited about all these insanely huge things I'm doing, I'm going to get depressed. So I think everything Elon does is like an antidote to his madness and depression.
I mean, what do you think he's doing? Like, what is, like you're saying, like he knew he was going to basically burn Tesla to the ground. Okay, but like, why?
Temporarily. You think it's first through the ground?
I look, like it from like I'm looking at buying cars, and like I don't really, I'm like sort of like Elon agnostic. I think I don't like mega love him, but I also don't think he's like a Nazi, which right. So I'm sort of like in the middle on him, I think. And I was looking at Teslas, and like a thought crossed my mind. I was like, do I want to get a Tesla? Like, do I really want to like park this thing outside and some asshole is gonna come up to it and like key it. Like, do I want to deal with that? Do I like want to even like have this be like a political statement? I don't want my car to be like a fucking political statement.
And that's me. Buy one. Is it really a political statement to own one?
The number one sold car in the world. So like
it's getting like the sales are getting wrecked. There's a reason why the stock is down. So.
okay, but like I'm just saying, it's the most common car on the roads. You're gonna like key each car on the road. Like it's not gonna happen.
It is like undeniably like a politicized thing now, though, right? Like it is.
Sounds like a great buying opportunity. It sounds like buying the dip. What's the price?
Yeah,
I'm gonna buy a couple.
Because I think like when I was
No, I mean the car.
when I was doing it, like objectively speaking, it's the best car for its price point, like
Yeah.
by far. So like just ignore that noise and buy the best car for its price.
I mean, can you ignore that noise? Like, what? Here's another thing that maybe you can't ignore. Like, what if the vandalism thing gets so bad that insurance companies are just like, we're gonna jack up the insurance on Teslas by like 50.
what if it doesn't?
But like, why even bother? I mean, even why?
A hypothetical that is likely to not exist.
But if I'm if I'm thinking about this, how many tens of thousands of people at the fringes are also thinking of this? Like, what are the?
You're not thinking of this as a temporary like rage thing that's happening and a few examples are being highlighted on social media. You think this is like a real phenomenon that like if you own one.
Yeah, people hate Elon. Like, there are people who like really, really hate Elon. And this like whole Luigi thing, like this is all tied into the same shit, man. Like, there's like a very real phenomenon that has been like fomenting, and I think you'd be a fool to ignore it, right? It's definitely there. You can talk about it. Why does that exist? What do we do about it? But to like try to explain it away as though like, oh, whatever, you guys are silly or whatever word you want to use, like, I don't know. There's definitely a there, and it is worth like asking the question, like, why is this car like so much fucking better that like I even want to deal with that? Like, I don't know. Like, I feel like I'll probably end up buying one anyway because, as Eric says, like the value is like quite good